When I arrived from Australia 42 years ago, I knew more about Australian art than anything else. I'd heard of Constable and Turner. A lot of the British artists I'd never heard of. So I was dealing in Australian art. And it was possible to find things relatively easy around London, even in Paris, at that time. Now it's become a lot more difficult as things get sort of snapped up, generally taken back to Australia. Over 40 years, I've noticed the amount of works just evaporate. It's so hard to find things now. The theme of the exhibition is going to be basically the Australian landscape, and it's going to go from the early 19th century or mid-19th century through to, well, the 21st century with the Aboriginal artists. I separate the two a bit because the Aboriginal artists are the heritage of Australia. They go back thousands of years, and with all their knowledge and what they're painting, all the dreamings that they're painting. Whereas the Western art, Western styled art, is very interesting, and it's going to encompass both of these. It's going to have one particular work by Goodhart, who was a graphic artist. I think he was a lithographic artist, and he was commissioned to do a work which was a dust storm over Broken Hill in about 1907. I think it was one of the agent generals wanted to give it as a gift, or was given to an agent general as a gift. But it's a dramatic painting of a famous dust storm, and it shows just how harsh the Australian landscape can really be. And then we go into Bessie Davidson, some of the artists one tends to find in Paris, Baker-Clack, who's another favourite of mine. His work's quite hard to find. He worked in Provence. And then John Peter Russell, who's an artist I've been very fond of over the years and had quite a few of. And at the moment one tends to only find the watercolours. The oils are very expensive, but the watercolours are absolutely charming. And we'll have, I think, 3 works on show for that. We have a nice landscape of Nolan. It's a piece on board, painted on board in oils by him. And then we have some graphic works, Dust series it's called, which are wonderful etchings with sort of carcasses of dead animals, images of Ned Kelly. So we'll have a few of those on show as well. In 2010, I did a show of an artist called Kubuchi Kingwari, and I selected him because I found him individual, his paintings different to all the other artists. He's the younger brother of the famous Emily, who's the most expensive Aboriginal artist ever sold in auction. He's fetched over $1 million. And he's been sort of sidelined a little bit, but he paints in Alice Springs. I visited him, saw him painting, and his work is, I think, is just magic. It really is. He paints the landscape with a completely different sort of spirit. And looking at his work and the technique, you'd think he'd even had art school training. I've shown a few of his works in New York from time to time and been asked, is this 60s New York school painting? People can't immediately identify it even. It's got such a modern feel. And we're going to be showing 3 or 4 of his works at least. I selected them because they sort of move me. And the paintings I do show, and have shown all through all the periods I've shown in the 40 years that I've been dealing in art, are things that interest and fascinate me. And that's the policy behind everything I've been doing. And the Aboriginal artists I've chosen have been exactly that.